Rising from the cold, unforgiving waters of the San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz Island stands as one of the most infamous and mysterious prisons in history. Windswept, isolated, and surrounded by icy currents, it earned a reputation not just as a place of incarceration, but as a symbol of ultimate punishment, where escape was believed to be impossible, and survival outside its walls was just as unlikely as breaking free from within them. Long before it became a federal prison, Alcatraz served multiple purposes. In the mid-19th century, it was first fortified as a military installation, guarding the entrance to the booming city of San Francisco during the Gold Rush era. Later, it transitioned into a military prison, housing soldiers who had committed crimes. But it was in 1934 that Alcatraz entered its most notorious chapter, when it was transformed into a maximum security federal penitentiary designed to hold the most dangerous and uncontrollable criminals in the United States. The idea behind Alcatraz was simple: if prisoners could not be controlled in other facilities, they would be sent here. The isolation was psychological as much as physical. Prisoners were cut off from the outside world, with limited communication, strict routines, and constant surveillance. Life on the Rock, as it was often called, was harsh and unforgiving. The cells were small, measuring roughly 5 by 9 feet, containing only the bare essentials: a bed, a sink, and a toilet. Privacy did not exist, and silence was often enforced. Despite its harshness, Alcatraz was not designed to be a place of torture, but rather a prison of discipline. Inmates were given basic privileges such as food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. Everything else, visitation rights, recreation, and even conversation, had to be earned through good behavior. This strict system created a tense and often oppressive environment, where a single mistake could result in severe consequences, including time in solitary confinement. Among the most famous inmates were notorious criminals whose names became part of American folklore. Al Capone, one of the most powerful mob bosses in history, was sent to Alcatraz after continuing to run his criminal empire from other prisons. On the island, however, his influence faded. Stripped of his power and suffering from deteriorating health, Capone became just another inmate under the rigid control of the prison system. Another infamous prisoner was George "Machine Gun" Kelly, known for his involvement in kidnappings and organized crime. Like many others, he found that Alcatraz was very different from other prisons. There were no privileges to exploit, no guards to bribe, and no easy way out. But perhaps the most legendary story associated with Alcatraz is the mysterious escape attempt of 1962, involving Frank Morris and brothers John Anglin and Clarence Anglin. These men spent months carefully planning their escape, using improvised tools to dig through the ventilation ducts in their cells. They created lifelike dummy heads from papier-mâché and real hair to fool the guards during nighttime checks. On the night of their escape, they climbed through the walls, made their way to the roof, and descended to the shoreline, where they launched a makeshift raft constructed from raincoats. The cold waters and strong currents of the bay made survival extremely unlikely, and although an extensive search was conducted, no bodies were ever found. This day, their fate remains one of the greatest mysteries in American criminal history. Did they drown in the freezing waters, or did they manage the impossible and escape to freedom? Officially, they are presumed dead, but speculation continues to fuel countless theories. Life inside Alcatraz was not only about survival, it was also about psychological endurance. The constant sound of the ocean, the fog that often engulfed the island, and the distant view of the city served as a cruel reminder of freedom just out of reach. Prisoners could sometimes hear music and laughter drifting across the water from San Francisco, intensifying their sense of isolation and despair. The prison was also expensive to maintain. Everything, from food to fuel, had to be transported by boat. The harsh marine environment caused constant wear and tear on the buildings, leading to high maintenance costs. By the early 1960s, it became clear that Alcatraz was no longer sustainable as a federal prison. In 1963, after nearly 3 decades of operation, it was officially closed. However, the story of Alcatraz did not end there. In 1969, a group of Native American activists occupied the island, claiming it as ancestral land. This occupation lasted for 19 months and brought national attention to indigenous rights, marking an important moment in American civil rights history. Today, Alcatraz has been transformed into a popular tourist destination and is managed by the National Park Service. Visitors from around the world come to explore its crumbling cell blocks, walk through its silent corridors, and imagine what life must have been like for those who were once imprisoned there. The island stands as a powerful reminder of a complex past, one that blends crime, punishment, mystery, and human resilience. Alcatraz is more than just a prison. It is a place where stories of ambition, desperation, and survival intersect. Its walls have witnessed some of the darkest chapters of criminal history, yet they also tell stories of hope, ingenuity, and the enduring human desire for freedom. Even decades after its closure, the legend of Alcatraz continues to captivate the world, standing alone in the bay as a silent monument to a time when escape was nearly impossible, and yet, perhaps, not entirely so.